Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting Art of War video. Games Workshop has just dropped the new Space Marine Index for 10th edition. So, after giving you a quick read through, I'm going to talk about my favorite combo for the new Index Space Marines. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, there's a lot more Warhammer content coming your way. We're posting a lot of 10th edition content, we're very excited for all the indexes coming out, and we have even more awesome content in the War. This is actually just one part of my favorite 3 combos that I have put in the Art of War War. If you want to check that out, as well as all of our other 10th edition content, make sure you click the link in the description below. That'll give you a free trial to the Art of War War. Or you can even sign up for it right on this YouTube channel. Alright, let's dive right into this combo. So, basically, this is light 'em up. This is how I think Space Marines have a really strong ability to pick one enemy unit and remove it from the board. And if you bring a lot of support units, you can really make this reliable and make Space Marines a much better shooting army than they have been in the past. And trust me, they weren't a bad shooting army in the past. Alright, so we're going to start by basically just firing different support units at an enemy unit so that you get buffs to the rest of your army shooting. Space Marines have a ton of data sheets, they have a ton of options. Several of them have a rule where pick an enemy unit that was hit by one of your ranged weapons for the rest of the shooting phase. All other Adeptus Astartes units get X or Y or Z, and there's so many different buffs that you can layer on. As well, Space Marines do have that wonderful faction rule called Oath of Moment, where they pick one enemy unit, and their army can reroll hits and wounds against it. So if there's something very crucial for you to hammer out, Space Marines are the army for you. Alright, let's talk about just kind of like the units and upgrades that we want to use here. First up is incursors. In addition to being a scout moving troop unit, their rule is that after they have shot, pick an enemy unit hit by one of their guns. The rest of your army is +1 to hit against that enemy unit. With heavy weapons being a little bit lower ballistic skill on some infantry, with vehicles just normally hitting on 3s, just getting a +1 to hit here makes your army a lot more reliable. As well, this will help if your opponent is packing some negative modifiers of their own. Just incursors, just pick a unit and say, my army's +1 to hit there. It's going to make your shooting a lot more reliable, especially if you're not shooting your Oath of Moment target. Something that I think is big here is that Oath of Moment can help you really kill one target, and maybe your army's not very good at killing 2 targets. But if you have some of these kind of targeting units, you can use them to light up a second unit and have one unit get hit by Oath of Moment, and then you can now put firepower very effectively into 2 spots. Next up is the Storm Speeder Hail Strike. The Hail Strike is going to give the army +1 AP against one enemy unit hit by their attacks. And when I say hit by their attacks, you get to choose after you roll them. So, if you wanted, you could point the Hail Strikes, stronger weapons at one enemy target, and then you could point its heavy stubbers at a different target. After you've resolved everything, look at that unit picked by the heavy stubber and say, I think that's the one that I want my army to be +1 AP into. Space Marines have a lot of potential for mid-AP weapons, bolt guns, heavy bolters, autocannons, or even just taking a good AP weapon like a plasma gun up an AP so that people just don't get a save at all. There's a lot of potential in Space Marines to just increase your AP and get to an entirely different breakpoint, especially into other Space Marines who might try to use Armor of Contempt against you. Next up is the Storm Speeder Thunder Strike. This functions the same way as the Hell Strike, except it gives your army +1 to wound against an enemy unit hit by their attacks. Man, if you have anti-vehicle problems, take a Thunder Strike. Maybe you won't anymore. In addition to, again, Oath of Moment on one night, your Thunder Strike shoots another. In addition to being a good anti-tank unit itself, making the rest of your army +1 to wound there is going to make missile launchers, autocannons, las cannons, melt guns incredibly more effective against that target. With Oath of Moment, I think you've got a lot of ability to light up specific enemy units that are priorities to remove, and then have the rest of your army come clean them out. So, when we're actually using this, you do want to take a couple targeting units, I think, to kind of buff your the firepower of your army. And you want to kind of look at the targeting units, and I'm using targeting here for all the different units that have that similar rule. Pick a unit that you hit with a weapon, the rest of your army gets X benefit against them. You want to take the ones that are well suited to your army. So if you're taking a bunch of lethal hit things, and that's kind of like what you're building your army around, or maybe you want to have the +1 AP, not the +1 to wound, because you're not actually making as many wound rolls. Maybe your anti-night plan is devastating wounds, and you really want to just get as many 6 to wound as possible. Maybe the +1 to hit of the incursors is actually better than +1 AP if you're kind of planning on devastating wounds being your main focus anyways. So pick the targeting units that are going to synergize best with your army, and of course, Oath of Moment is just what you get for being a Space Marine, so enjoy it. Focusing down one enemy unit at a time, I think, is just really, really good for Space Marines. It's a very unique strength, and it makes them have that elite feel that you'd expect out of a Space Marine army. I expect Space Marines to be an absolute menace on the tabletop, and I think they're going to be very powerful in 10th edition. Now, the one thing to avoid here is that all of these combos, all these wonderful like targeting units, they're great, but they aren't always efficient damage dealing themselves. So you run into a problem where if you take too many targeting units, you may not have enough damage dealers left. Or if your opponent targets your damage dealers first, let's say your whole game plan is to use a Hail Strike to, maybe make your Desolators better at shooting because they're going to get plus 1 AP against the target. Well, if your opponent can kill the Desolators, the Hail Strike may not be worth whatever points it ends up costing on its own. It may only be worth it if it's providing its buff to other friends. So just watch out for, putting too much emphasis on the targeting units and not enough on the damage dealers, or vice versa, taking damage dealers that really need those targeting units to be alive. And, are those Desolators not going to be worth it if your opponent can kill the Hail Strike? Things to think about. So, just to wrap up my thoughts overall for Space Marines, I think that they are going to be very, very powerful. They have a ton of stratagems and rules. They have a lot of really good combos. Space Marines just have so many data sheets and so many characters. There's going to be good things in there. I'm really excited to see all the different combos that I'll be diving into. There's a lot to do with Space Marines. I'm very excited to get them on the table and start streaming games for all of you wonderful viewers. I think Space Marines are going to end up being quite a powerful faction and very fun to play. So, if you're watching this right about when it comes out, well, we don't actually have points yet for Space Marines, but those are coming soon. As soon as they do, we're going to have a lot more content breaking down things in even more detail. These are just some of the initial combos that I looked at and thought, I don't know what, the points are going to be, but this looks like it's going to be viable. So we're going to have points soon. I'm really excited for that. We'll be getting them on stream. As well, later on this month, once we have the complete picture of 10th edition, we'll be doing a full State of the Faction video for every faction in the game, which includes Space Marines. You're going to be able to find a lot of that in the Art of War War Room. If you're already there, awesome. If not, now is the best time possible to sign up. You can go to that link in the description below, thewarroom.vhx.tv, to get a free 3-day trial to the War Room, or you can sign up right here on our YouTube channel to get access to all of that top quality content for all levels of play. Thank you so much for watching this, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. There's a lot more 10th edition content coming our way, so we'll see you then. Bye-bye.